Summary of the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. Hi. Writer and public speaker Dale Carnegie is the book that has been in print since its publication in 1936. The introduction? Why did you write this book? Why do you read it? You have worked for more than 30 years in training people on public speaking, based on my experience. But what I noticed is that they need to learn the art of dealing more than their need for the art of speaking, and this is what I really needed, until I trained on that, with many experiences, and I wish I had learned that through a book, which I didn't even get into writing, this book, so I wrote it for me. I present it to anyone who wants to win friends, influence people, and change his life and their lives for the better, and this is what you want from the first chapter. Basic tactics in dealing with people. First, do not destroy the hive if you want its honey, if you want me, and do not do something hateful that lasts for years, and until the death of what we mean. We will not criticize it harshly, but briefly, and do not check its merit. Do not always remember that we are not dealing with logical creatures, but rather emotional creatures armed with their prejudices and driven by their pride. They understand the behavior of the other, overlook some of his mistakes, and are kind to him in correcting his behavior. Without losing it, swipe, you didn't think about its consequences, and you could have exchanged it for what it earned you. The second greatest secret in dealing with people: there is only one way to get everyone to do anything, and that is to make him want it. It is true that there are other methods for accomplishing the tasks that you command, such as threats, but they will not come with good spirits. The desire for appreciation for this people crave, even if they put it at the bottom of their desires, which seem necessary, such as health, food, housing, and other pleasures and desires. Third, who can in on this? The whole world will be with him, and he will not be alone. Get out of the circle of thinking about what you want and into the circle of thinking about what other people want. See things from their perspective, and make them do what you want because they want the way they see it. A person does what he desires. It is a kind of self-expression, if he is not forced into it, but he turns to it voluntarily, so why not make people convinced of the idea as if they were the owners of it? To get to the bottom line, accomplish what they want that we want. We will earn an accomplished work and a self-established person. Chapter 2: The 6 Methods of Winning People's Admiration. First, do this, and you'll be welcome everywhere. Think about the ways you make people friends with you, and think about the number of friends you make with it. Have I thought of telling you now that you can make more friends in 2 months than those you made in 2 years, by being interested in others rather than being interested in others taking care of you? This is normal. We all take care of ourselves. Start showing sincere concern for your family, friends, and coworkers, and you will notice a wonderful change that will have a long-term impact until the end of life. Secondly, it's an easy way to make a good first impression. Your face is the first thing people look at. It's the expression, the smile of your lips, the furrow of your eyebrows, not your clothes or jewelry. When you see someone or communicate with him, it is your gateway, leaving a positive initial impression on whom you see for the first time or several times as required by your dealings with him. Even if you don't meet people face to face, make sure that your smile, which you release with sincere feelings, will reach the other party through your voice, and among your words. People know sincerity and notice. Do you know that a person's frequent seeing of grimaces negatively affects his life and his giving? Do not be part of this effect, but be part of changing it, with your true smile, as it will convey a message that life still has a rest of its pleasure. Thirdly, troubles will come upon you if you do not do this. Nothing is dearer to the human heart than to be called by his name, as if his caller knew him. no matter how long the years and times are far apart. People will feel the closeness of the one who addresses them by their names, no matter how short the acquaintance period is, and if he addresses them in writing. Take care of the spelling of the name as they wish or like. The matter is not only to preserve the name, but to address it every time you communicate with that person. For what purpose? For a soft way to be a good communicator. One day I was at a dinner party, and among the audience was a scientist and a botanist who began to talk to me about plants and their cultivation, and I listened to him intently, and I did not do more than that. I listened to him and nodded and did not say a word, so he showered me with expressions of praise and praise. He called me a good interviewer. Why did he call me a good interviewer? I was a good listener, the kind people want, attentive, engaging, appreciative of them, and you don't have to comment or make suggestions or handle the situation. Do not limit listening to what you hear as an audio. It may be a book or an autobiography, but how does the concerned know that you have read his book, or that you have contacted him and asked him about some details, and expressed the sincerity of your position and feelings? Sometimes what you read in his handwriting, or about you, you will find with the passage of time that you have gained a number of people who have their weight in life and their influence in your life by listening to them. Fifthly, the path that paves the way for the hearts of others is to update them with what represents moral value to them, learn about the interests of those you will deal with and gain their affection by opening topics about them, and if they do not interest you, in the end you will attract their attention to you and win them over. Sixth, how to make people like you immediately. There is a very important law. If we follow it, we will not have many problems, nor will we gain many friends, which is to make the other feel that he is always important. I once went to the post office and found the female employee bored with his work. I thought by saying something that would change his mood and add to the monotony, something different, understood. I pulled a hair. Startled. However, his mood began to change. He told me that he would not look his best. Then he said that people often comment on his beauty. His mood changed, and I am almost certain that everything changed his day at that time. When I threw this situation to one of the groups, one of them asked me about what I wanted from the employee. What I wanted from the employee, was he dehydrated? Is selfishness? What amount? We do not give others appreciation, even simple, unless in return, and if this return did not happen, we would not enable them to hear an honest word that would change their mood and increase their self-esteem. Do we need? Is there a reason to express gratitude to those who do his work? Chapter 3. How do you get people to support your way of thinking? One does not win any argument. The best way to win the argument is not in the argument at all. You cannot actually win any argument. Why? Because if you lose in it, you have already lost. But if you lose in it, you have lost. Actually, how is that? That you have gained your victory for yourself and lost the one you argued with? The matter hardly constitutes any importance. He has lost his pride, so do not be tempted to keep him as your friend. Secondly, the surest way to win enemies. Do you want to prove something to someone? Don't tell him you want to be proven wrong. That will put him on the defensive and dismiss coal, and you're right. What do you do if you are a diplomat? As if you say I have a different idea, and it may be wrong? What do you think if we reviewed it together? It will be relieved here, its burden, its retraction on you. If he was wrong, he may have admitted his mistake, but always remember. To confront the shocker, you will not change anything, nor the opinion of your admission of error or its possibility, and if you are not mistaken, it will stop the argument, and perhaps push the other to sympathize with you and deal fairly, even if he is wrong. Do not admit it, as we said. Point 3. Dripped in honey. In life, we are forced to face stressful situations in which people are angry or burned and may exceed the limits of objection to assault or negatively affect the course of work or any relationship. Managing people's anger and negative feelings, even if they are appropriate. In this situation, patience will be needed, and a friendly speech style will be added to your speech to calm them down, or the so-called drops of honey. These drops will attract them to you and absorb their anger. For petitions that everyone loves. Get to know people's motives, then learn the most important of them and their names, then use it to seek what you want. A newspaper published an inappropriate picture of a celebrity, and all he did was send the following note: please don't publish that picture again. Mom didn't like it. He could have filed a lawsuit and waged a fierce war so that his image, which he did not like, would not be published, but it took the least expensive method, as no one argues about the value of mothers for everyone. He also managed to win over a famous writer for his magazine when he presented her with a check for $100 in the name of her favorite charity. 5. What do movies and television do? So why do you do it too? By that I mean the play. Put your idea or what you want to communicate when necessary in a different, non-traditional form. Make it a play that attracts their attention, receives you. What did he do? He performs the play in a dramatic manner. He takes him playing with his 2 children, the toy train, the boy's bike, its tub, the train, and their toys are coal, to lead the boy and his imaginary's train around the room, and the girl collects coal in his tub. There was no more arguing and shouting, and no scattered games. This is just an example, and you can implement your own model to suit your idea. The important thing is to focus on dazzling his attention. 6. If you run out of tricks, grab these. The trick is simply, or has ignited the challenge, when productivity declines, and all methods of intimidation and courtship are exhausted. He resorted to the challenge. One of them had a HUD factory. His teams did not produce as much as was required, and he had exhausted what he knew of intimidation and enticement. He asked the morning shift team how many operations they had in a day. He told him it was 6. He drew a big 6 on the floor, and then he went on. The night shift team asked about the number. And tell him, and discuss whether the morning team is better than us? No, he performed 7 operations, erased the number 6, and added their new number, and so did the morning team after them, so the issue turned to competition over who works more, until productivity flourished. And the challenge is self-expression, an opportunity to prove the capabilities to stand out and win the challenge. Invest this innate desire for prominence in a positive way that ensures that all parties win. Chapter 4. Be a leader. How do you change people without abuse or rancor? Whereas the role of a leader anywhere is to change attitudes and behaviors. Here are a number of methods that will facilitate this task for you. First, you don't even have to point out the error, because this is the right way. For that meeting, one of them made an election speech, in which he made an effort to write it and deliver it in an attractive way, except that it was not appropriate at all, and he almost lost the goals of the electoral campaign. He sent a friend to him saying, "No, it was your speech. Very impressive, and I do not think that anyone until this moment can write as I wrote. Do you think it was appropriate? Exactly for that occasion? What do you think if I wrote the following letter and sent it to me to improve it with you? Have you reached the point?" Yes, before pointing out the mistake you want to correct, praise the one who committed it while being honest, to open the door of acceptance, then tell him the mistake so that he accepts your advice. He may ask for your guidance. Secondly, how do you criticize and not reap anyone's hatred? Draw the critic's attention indirectly, so if you think you can do that without critical words or reprimands or corrections, but he will appreciate you, and perhaps he will love you, and he will understand your message, and he will work so that he does not repeat your criticism that embarrassed him in this way again. Thirdly, talk about your mistakes first. One of the methods of correcting other people's mistakes, or drawing their attention to them, is your acknowledgement of your mistakes and what you did in the past, even if you were not corrected. This gives your direction a value that convinces the other that you really want his interest. So simply admit your mistake to correct someone else's mistake. Fourthly, nobody likes to take orders. What about your technique? Preserving a person's pride, giving him a sense of importance, correcting his mistake, and making him perform the required task without hearing an order? Is that suggestion? There is no need to say that direct orders become boring and arouse hatred with the passage of time, and the recipient may forget his humanity and the humanity of those who receive it, so he changed the template of the message from command to suggestion. What do you think if this is not limited, of course, to the field of work, rather, with everyone who, in the context of your relationship with him, is supposed to take orders from you? Fifth, save face for the other person. Did you know that a few minutes of wise reflection can save face for the person you are about to criticize, fire, or correct? When an employee admits, for example, that he made a mistake and that he will correct him, accept that from him and save his face by saying, for example, I know that you have done your best, and the mistake was due to your lack of experience, not your ability. I know you are in the right place. His phrases like that will help him get his work done. With devotion so as not to disappoint you, otherwise expect, especially if it is important in your work environment, that it will be transferred to your competitor, or that the seeds of your hatred may be sown. Sixth, how do you push people to succeed? History testifies in various and repeated events that a word of praise thrown into the ear of man pushed him to the heights of success and glory. Think about your own life. Didn't this happen to you while taking multiple forms of words? Choose the right compliments for the right person at the right time, and enjoy seeing them succeed because of you. The conclusion: always remember that what you mentioned will not work for you in forming friendships and influencing people unless it comes from the bottom of your heart with all sincerity and no foolishness or selfishness. You only broadcast and discover. You are not one of those you are trying to win and influence. What you and I did to reveal the personal, skillful, and knowledge treasures that are kept by those we meet daily and communicate with them, the art of Sinan is not only others, but rather we completely change them. It is, as I said, words and minutes of thinking, and here we are with loyal friends and loving family members and employees mighty.